She didn't say she wanted a divorce. She said she was filing to upgrade. She called the work I did in my garage worthless. I signed everything without a single argument. Months later, she found out I'd sold that worthless patent for $85 million. Her lawyer went pale first. Then she did. Maybe she should have asked a few questions. Rhonda, that's my ex-wife. My name is Dalton Briggs. I'm 47, and I've been an engineer for 23 years. I was married for 19 of those years to a woman who once told me I had kind eyes and steady hands. Rhonda used to say those were the things that really mattered. Turns out what really mattered was a luxury gym membership and a man who drove a car with his last name on the dealership. The morning she served me the papers, I was sitting at our kitchen table, drinking coffee. Same spot I'd sat in for almost 2 decades. Same chipped mug with the faded college logo. Same view of the backyard where I'd built the workshop Rhonda liked to mock as Dalton's cave of mediocrity. Whenever her book club friends asked about it, she'd roll her eyes and dismiss it with a joke. That morning, she walked in wearing a gray dress I'd never seen before, heels that added 3 inches to her height, hair done like she was headed somewhere important. "I'm filing to upgrade," Rhonda said, sliding a manila folder across the table. Not, "I want a divorce." Not, "We need to talk." Upgrade, like I was outdated software she'd decided to uninstall. At first I didn't respond. I just looked at the documents, noticed her signature already on the last page, pen laid carefully on top like an instruction. "Sign here." "You can keep the house," she went on, pouring herself lemon water from the pitcher she always kept in the fridge. "I'll take the condo downtown and the Lexus. Clean break. No drama. A clean break. 19 years, 3 miscarriages, an entire shared life reduced to lines in legalese. "Whatever you need, Rhonda," I said, picking up the pen. She blinked. That wasn't in her script. She'd been expecting a scene. Anger, tears, demands. Instead, I calmly signed anywhere a signature was required, added the date, closed the folder, and pushed it back to her. "That's it?" she asked. "That's it," I replied. She hesitated like she was waiting for me to crack. When I didn't, she picked up the folder, grabbed her purse, and walked to the door. Our dog, Murphy, padded after her, stopping at the threshold. She didn't even look at him. Just opened the door and left. Soft click, no slam, no goodbye. I stared down at my coffee. It had gone cold. That night, I found one of her wine glasses still in the dishwasher, lipstick smudged on the rim, the same shade she'd worn that morning. And I thought about the receipts I'd found 6 months earlier. Charges at restaurants I'd never heard of. Hotel rooms on weekends when she claimed she was at conferences. His name was Clayton Sutton. I never met the man, but I knew enough. Investment advisor, Mercedes driver, the kind of smile that sells trust funds and empty promises. I hadn't confronted her when I discovered it. I didn't yell, didn't throw anything, didn't beg. I just walked out to the workshop, shut the door, and went back to the one thing she'd never cared to understand. The prototype sitting on my workbench, compact, unremarkable to anyone else, revolutionary to me. She called it my retirement fantasy. Told her friends I was wasting my time on something that would never matter. But the blueprints were finished. The trust was airtight. And my attorney, a former military officer with a mind like a scalpel, had made sure every asset was shielded. I didn't leave Rhonda because she cheated. I left because emotionally, I'd been gone for years. She just didn't realize it until it was irreversible. Rhonda liked to call my workshop Dalton's junkyard, the shed behind our house where I'd spent nights and weekends for the last 11 years. She refused to step inside. Said it smelled like burnt metal and broken dreams. In reality, it smelled like progress. The workshop had started as an old storage shed. I gutted it in 2014, insulated the walls, added proper ventilation, and built the workbenches with my own hands. It wasn't pretty, but it was efficient. It had everything I needed. On the main bench sat a device that didn't look like much. About the size of a microwave, gray polymer casing, a few indicator lights on the front. Nothing about it screamed life-changing, but inside that box was something that could transform transplant medicine. A biocompatible polymer matrix capable of 3D printing functional human organs. I started the project during my master's program, back when Rhonda still pretended to care about my research. The idea was deceptively simple. Create a material that could mimic human tissue at the cellular level, print it layer by layer, and integrate it with a patient's body without triggering rejection. Simple on paper. 15 years of grinding in real life. The breakthrough came 3 years ago. I'd been cycling through polymer variations, trying to balance flexibility with structural strength. I'd failed more than 200 times. That night, Rhonda was at a charity gala, probably meeting Clayton for the first time, while I was out in the workshop running tests on batch 247. It worked. The sample tissue merged perfectly with the control cells, no rejection, no breakdown, full compatibility. I stared at the microscope screen for an hour, not trusting my own eyes. Then I called my contact in Seattle, a man named Vincent Aldridge. We'd met years earlier at a biomedical engineering conference and kept in touch by email. He ran a venture capital firm focused on medical technology. Quiet guy, never pushy. He listened more than he talked. "Vincent," I said when he picked up, "I need to show you something, in person." "How soon?" he asked. "As soon as possible." 2 weeks later, he flew out. He went through my data, examined the prototype, questioned me nonstop for 3 hours. Then he leaned back, folded his hands, and said 5 words that changed everything. "How much do you need?" Over the next 3 years, Vincent channeled funding through a private trust. No big announcements, no media, just steady capital for research, materials, testing. He believed in the project when no one else did, especially not Rhonda. She'd stroll past the workshop with her wine glass, laughing into the phone with her sister. "Dalton's still playing scientist," she'd say. "Maybe one day he'll build something that actually matters." I never corrected her. I never told her about the patents I'd already filed, never mentioned the trust I'd set up in Nevada, completely separate from our marital assets. I didn't explain that Vincent's firm had 3 major hospital networks already lined up, eager to license the technology. Let her think I was wasting my time. While she rolled her eyes at my junkyard, I was quietly building an empire she'd never see coming. The night she left, I stood alone in the workshop with my hand resting on the prototype. Murphy sat at my feet, head tilted like he was trying to make sense of everything. "She has no idea, buddy," I said to him. His tail flicked once. I pulled out my phone and texted Vincent. "Timeline just accelerated. She's gone. Let's move forward." His reply came 30 seconds later. "I'll make the calls. Get ready." I looked around the workshop. Years of effort, thousands of hours. A marriage that had slowly died while I was busy creating something that would save lives. Rhonda wanted an upgrade. She was about to learn what a real upgrade looked like. Kyle Brennan had been my friend for 12 years. We met at a medical device expo in Chicago back in 2013, bonded over terrible conference coffee and mutual frustration with patent law. He was a consultant who specialized in intellectual property strategy for biotech startups. Smart, connected, always knowing exactly who to talk to. I trusted him completely. I showed him my early prototypes, shared research data, asked his advice on filings. He helped me navigate the legal maze of protecting my polymer designs. What I didn't know was that for the last 8 months, Kyle had been feeding information to Rhonda. I found out 3 days after she left. I'd installed security cameras in the workshop 6 months earlier, not because I didn't trust Rhonda, but because the equipment inside was worth a small fortune. Motion activated, cloud storage, the whole package. I was reviewing footage, trying to figure out where I'd misplaced a calibration tool when I saw it. Kyle entering the workshop at 2:17 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was in a meeting with a hospital administrator at the time. Rhonda had let him in. The video showed him methodically photographing my workbench, my computer screen, my filing cabinets. Calm, deliberate, no hesitation. He spent 40 minutes documenting everything. I watched the footage 3 times, making sure I wasn't misunderstanding what I was seeing. Then I checked the timestamps. He'd been in my workshop 7 times over the previous 6 months, always when I wasn't home, always let in by Rhonda. I pulled up my email archive and searched his name. There it was, a thread from 4 months earlier where he'd asked very specific questions about my polymer composition. At the time, they'd seemed like technical curiosity. Now, they looked like reconnaissance. That's when my phone rang. "Vincent, we have a problem," he said, voice tight. "Someone's been shopping your technology to competitors. detailed specs, recent test data. Kyle Brennan, I said immediately. You know, Vincent asked, I just figured it out. He's been in my workshop. Rhonda's been helping him. There was a beat of silence. When Vincent spoke again, his tone had gone cold and surgical. Don't confront him. Don't let him know you're aware. We're going to need evidence for the lawsuit. Can you secure your workshop? Already done. Cameras caught everything. Good. Send me the footage. I'll have our attorneys start building a case. And Dalton, change all your access codes. Move the real prototype somewhere safe. I'd already done that. The device sitting on my workbench at that point was a decoy. It looked identical from the outside, but the internals were worthless knockoffs. The real prototype was in a climate-controlled storage unit across town, registered under the trust's name. Way ahead of you, I said. That's why we're going to win, Vincent replied. After we hung up, I sat staring at the dummy prototype. Kyle thought he was stealing cutting-edge technology. In reality, he was stealing junk, but the betrayal still hurt. 12 years of friendship reduced to corporate espionage, backed by a woman who never cared enough to protect what I'd built. I opened my laptop and drafted an email to Kyle, kept it light, friendly, casual, asked if he wanted to grab coffee next week so I could share some exciting developments with the project. He replied within an hour, absolutely, looking forward to it. I smiled, so was I. The break-in happened on a Thursday night. I was in Phoenix at a medical conference, scheduled to present a paper on tissue integration protocols. Rhonda knew I'd be out of town for 3 days. So did Kyle. At 11:43 p.m., the security system pinged my phone, motion detected in the workshop. I opened the live feed from my hotel room and watched two figures in dark clothing, faces covered, prying open the side door with a crowbar. They moved like professionals. No wandering, no hesitation. One went straight to the workbench. The other headed for my file cabinets. They knew exactly what they were looking for. The one at the bench pulled out a hammer, raised it over the prototype. I didn't panic. I just watched. The hammer came down. The casing shattered. Fake components scattered across the floor. The second intruder grabbed my laptop, yanked out the external hard drives, and swept everything into a bag. They were gone in 8 minutes. I called Vincent immediately. They just hit the workshop, I said. The real prototype? He asked, fully alert despite the hour. Safe in storage, I replied. They destroyed the dummy. Perfect, he said. Call the police, file a report, act devastated. I called 911, reported the break-in, and flew home the next morning. 2 detectives met me at the house, took my statement, photographed the damage, and collected the few scraps of evidence left behind. Any idea who might want to do this? The younger detective asked. No idea, I said, playing my part. I'm just an engineer. I don't have enemies. The truth was I had enemies now, very specific ones. And I had them on video. After the police left, I uploaded the security footage to an encrypted server and sent the link to Vincent and my attorney. The video footage was perfectly clear. Inside the workshop, the intruders had taken off their masks, probably assuming the cameras weren't working. One of them was Kyle's younger brother, Derek. The other was a man I didn't recognize, at least not until Vincent's security team ran his face and identified him within 2 hours. Former military, now doing private security work. His payment records showed recent deposits from a shell company registered to none other than Clayton Sutton. Everything snapped into place. Rhonda had told Clayton about my work. Clayton had pulled Kyle in. Kyle had brought in his brother and hired Muscle to destroy what they thought was my only prototype and steal my data. They believed they were protecting Clayton's investment, making sure I couldn't profit from technology that might complicate his financial arrangement with Rhonda. What they had actually done was commit multiple felonies, on camera. Do we press charges now? I asked Vincent on the phone that evening. Not yet, Vincent said. Let them think they've won. Let them believe you're crushed. We'll let this play out. When the timing's right, we'll bury all of them. I glanced at the shattered dummy prototype scattered across the workshop floor. I can wait, I said. I know you can, Vincent replied. That's why you're going to win. Over the next 2 days, I cleaned up the workshop, making it look like I was desperately trying to salvage what was left. I posted a few vague, discouraged updates on my personal blog about major setbacks and unexpected challenges. Kyle called not long after. I heard about the break-in man. That's awful, he said, voice dripping with concern. Is there anything I can do to help? No, I answered, keeping my tone flat. I think I'm done. The project's dead. Don't say that. You can rebuild. Maybe. I just need some time to think. After we hung up, I texted Vincent, hook, line, and sinker. His reply came back quickly. Now we wait for them to celebrate. 3 weeks after the break-in, Vincent called with news. Biomedical Solutions wants to meet, he said. They've been tracking your patent filings. They're interested in acquiring the technology outright. How interested? I asked. Very. They're sending their acquisition team next week. Be ready to negotiate. I knew who Biomedical Solutions was. Big player in the transplant field. Contracts with hospitals all over the country. Billions in revenue. If they wanted my technology, that meant what I'd built wasn't just good. It was game-changing. The meeting took place in a glass-walled conference room at Vincent's office in Seattle, overlooking Puget Sound. 3 executives in tailored suits sat opposite us. The lead negotiator, a woman named Patricia Reynolds, opened a leather portfolio and got straight to the point. Mr. Briggs, your biocompatible polymer is a true breakthrough in transplant medicine, she said. We've reviewed your patents, your test results, and consulted our medical advisors. We'd like to acquire full rights to the technology. I'm listening, I said. Patricia slid a document across the table. Our initial offer, we can structure it as an exclusive licensing agreement with an acquisition option or a direct purchase. Both include performance bonuses tied to successful implementation. I picked up the document and skimmed through. The acquisition number sat near the bottom of page 3. $85 million plus royalties, plus performance incentives that could push the total north of $100 million. I kept my expression neutral, no smile, no reaction. I set the papers down and looked at Patricia. What's your implementation timeline? I asked. 18 months for FDA approval, assuming your data holds, she replied. Another 6 months for production ramp-up. We'd want you on retainer as a technical consultant for the initial phase, and the technology would be restricted to medical use only. No defense contracts, no questionable private sector applications. Strictly medical, Patricia confirmed. Our business is hospital systems and transplant centers. That's our focus. I glanced at Vincent. He gave me the smallest nod. Give me 72 hours to review everything with my attorney, I said. If the terms are solid, you have a deal. Patricia smiled. We'll wait for your response. After they left, Vincent poured 2 whiskeys and handed me a glass. $85 million, he said. Not bad for a backyard workshop project. It was never just a workshop project, I replied. I know, he said. That's why I invested. Rhonda had never understood what she was walking away from. I thought about all those years I'd spent building something meaningful while my marriage fell apart. About Rhonda planning her upgrade with Clayton, dividing assets, calculating property values, without once asking what the real value in my life actually was. She'll find out soon enough, I said. When do you want to go public? Vincent asked. After the contracts are signed, after the money hits, after there's absolutely nothing she can do to claim any of it. Vincent raised his glass. To patience. We drank. 3 days later, after my attorney went through every clause and confirmed the agreement was ironclad, I signed. 48 hours after that, the funds hit the trust account. $85 million, secured, protected, completely outside the reach of any marital claims. I was standing in my workshop when the transfer notification appeared on my phone. Same space where I'd spent 11 years building, failing, iterating, and finally succeeding. Murphy was curled at my feet, wagging his tail like he somehow understood. We did it, buddy, I said softly. I didn't throw a party. I didn't call anyone. I just stood there in the quiet, feeling the reality settle on me. Freedom, vindication, and proof that the years I'd invested hadn't been wasted. Rhonda had gotten her upgrade, Clayton's curated lifestyle and his hollow promises. I'd gotten something else, a clean slate and leverage she didn't even know existed. The publicity embargo on the deal would last 6 months, standard procedure for a transaction this size. Biomedical Solutions wanted time to lock in their supply chain and finalize FDA filings before announcing anything to the world. 6 months. That's how long Rhonda had left before her carefully planned new life collided with the truth. I could wait. On the surface, I kept my life exactly the same. Same old truck, same house, same routine. I mowed the lawn every Saturday morning, took Murphy for walks, grabbed coffee at the same diner I'd been going to for years. Nothing changed on the outside, because I didn't want it to. Rhonda moved into her downtown condo with Clayton. I saw the Instagram posts. Her feed turned into a curated highlight reel of her new life. Rooftop brunches, wine tastings, weekend trips to Napa. In one photo, she was holding a champagne glass. The caption, "Finally living the life I deserve." Clayton stood behind her, hand on her shoulder, wearing that polished investment advisor's smile. I scrolled past without reacting. 2 months after the divorce was finalized, I ran into them at a downtown farmer's market. I was buying vegetables for dinner. They were browsing artisanal cheese like it was performance art. Rhonda spotted me first. Her smile flickered for half a second before she forced it back into place. "Dalton," she said, overly bright. "How are you?" "Good," I said, keeping it simple. "You?" "Wonderful. We just got back from Sonoma. Clayton surprised me with a wine country getaway." Clayton held out his hand. I shook it. Firm grip, practiced confidence. "Good to see you, Dalton," he said. "Rhonda's told me a lot about you." "I'm sure she has," I replied. An awkward silence settled over the three of us. Rhonda adjusted her designer sunglasses, the kind that cost more than my monthly grocery bill. "Still working on your little project?" she asked, barely bothering to hide the condescension. "Not anymore," I said. "Had some setbacks, took a break from it." Her expression shifted into something like satisfaction. "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but honestly, maybe it's for the best. You can focus on other things now." "Maybe," I said. Clayton checked his watch. "We should get going, babe. Reservation at noon." They walked off hand in hand. Rhonda glanced back once with that same superior smile. The look that said she'd made the right choice, successfully upgraded, left the boring engineer behind. I paid for my vegetables and went home. That evening, I got a text from Kyle, the first since the break-in. "Hey man, heard you gave up on the polymer project." Probably smart. These things rarely pan out. "Want to grab coffee sometime?" I stared at the message for a long moment. Kyle thought he'd won, thought the sabotage had worked, thought I was finished. "Sure," I texted back. "Let's catch up soon." I set my phone down and looked at Murphy sleeping on his bed. 4 months until the embargo lifted. 4 months until the acquisition went public. 4 months until everyone who dismissed me, betrayed me, underestimated me, would see exactly what I'd built. I could be patient a little longer. That same morning, my divorce attorney had called. The final paperwork was processed. Rhonda got the condo, the Lexus, and half of what was in our joint savings, about $40,000 total. I'd signed everything without a fight, let her believe she'd gotten a fair split. She had no idea the real money was locked away in a trust she didn't even know existed, protected by legal structures she'd never thought to question. My attorney had asked if I wanted to contest anything. "No," I told him. "Let her have it all." It was pocket change compared to what was coming. Some battles you win by not fighting. You win by being smarter, more patient, more strategic. Rhonda thought she'd won because she got exactly what she asked for. I'd won because she never knew what to ask for. 6 months passed like a single-held breath. Then the embargo lifted. The press release went out on a Tuesday morning. Biomedical Solutions announced their acquisition of a revolutionary biocompatible polymer technology for organ transplants from independent researcher Dalton Briggs. Within an hour, the headline hit every major medical journal and tech news site. Breakthrough in transplant medicine. Engineer's garage. Invention sells for $85 million. Rhonda and Clayton were at brunch when her phone started buzzing. Some upscale place downtown with bottomless mimosas and overpriced eggs. She'd just posted a story. "Tuesday vibes with my love." Her friend Sarah sent her the article. "OMG, isn't this your ex?" Rhonda opened the link and saw my photo. Same flannel shirt she used to mock. Same workshop she'd dismissed as a junkyard. The article laid everything out. The polymer technology, the 11 years of development, the hospital networks already lined up, the $85 million acquisition price. Her mimosa glass slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor. Champagne and orange juice spread across the white tile, as the whole restaurant turned to stare. Clayton leaned in, reading over her shoulder. His face went pale. "Wait," he said. "That's your ex-husband? The guy with the garage?" Rhonda couldn't answer. She just stared at the screen, scrolling, seeing the number repeat over and over. $85 million. The article included a quote from me. "This technology represents years of patient work and dedication. I'm grateful to everyone who believed in this project when others dismissed it." When others dismissed it, she knew exactly who that was aimed at. Clayton kept reading, his voice getting sharper with every word. "It says here he held the patent in a private trust. That means, Rhonda, this all happened while you were married, and you didn't get a cent of it." Clayton's voice was sharp, disbelieving. She finally tore her eyes away from the screen and looked at him, dazed. "He never said anything," Rhonda whispered. He signed everything. He agreed to everything because he already had $85 million hidden away." Clayton's voice spiked before he caught himself, lowering it as the other diners stared. "How did you not know about this?" "I didn't," she choked out. "He never told me it was real. It was just wires and experiments. It wasn't supposed to actually work." Clayton leaned back, dragging his hands through his hair. "Your lawyer. Did your lawyer ask about intellectual property during the divorce?" Rhonda's hand shook as she pulled up her attorney's number. She hit call. Robert answered on the third ring. "Robert, did you see the news?" she asked, her voice cracking. "I did," he replied, sounding grim. "We need to talk. Can you come by my office?" "Tell me now. Can we contest it? Can we get a share?" There was a long pause, then Robert spoke carefully, each word deliberate. "Rhonda, you signed a no-contest clause. You waived any claim to future earnings from unlisted assets. The trust was created before the divorce filing. The patent was kept separate from the marital estate. Legally, it's airtight. It's fully shielded." "But it's $85 million, Robert." "I understand. But unless he voluntarily disclosed that technology as a marital asset, which he very clearly didn't, you have no legal claim. He played this perfectly. I'm sorry." The line went dead. Rhonda sat frozen, phone still in her hand while the reality crashed over her. She'd walked away thinking she'd secured the better future, the condo, the car, the freedom. He'd let her take it all because it was nothing compared to what he'd already locked away. Clayton stood abruptly. "I need some air." "Don't leave," Rhonda said, reaching for his hand. He pulled back. "I need to think. This is a lot." He walked out of the restaurant without looking back. Rhonda sat alone at the table, surrounded by shattered glass and spilled champagne, while whispers swirled through the dining room. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Sarah. "Girl, you fumbled the bag so hard." She wanted to scream, to cry, to rewind 6 months and ask just one simple question. But it was too late. By that evening, the story had blown up. Local news stations covered it. Business magazines ran pieces on it. Someone on Reddit started a thread titled, "Woman divorces engineer husband, finds out later he sold patent for $85 million. The post hit 18,000 upvotes. Rhonda's Instagram turned into a war zone. Comments piled up under her latest photos. "Bet you regret that upgrade now. He's probably laughing all the way to the bank. Imagine leaving a genius for a finance bro." She deleted them. More appeared. She disabled comments entirely. Then came the DMs. Old friends, distant relatives, acquaintances, each message wrapped in fake sympathy, barely hiding their schadenfreude. "Hey, saw the news about Dalton. That's wild. How are you holding up?" She didn't answer any of them. Around midnight, Clayton texted, "Need some space to process this. Staying at my place tonight." That was 3 nights ago. He still hadn't come back. Kyle called me the day after the news broke. His voice was tight, strained. "Dalton, man, I just saw the article. Congratulations. That's incredible. I had no idea you were that close to a breakthrough." "Thanks, Kyle," I said, keeping my tone even. Everything finally came together. "Listen, about that break-in at your workshop. Did the police get any leads? Because if someone was trying to steal your tech, that's serious." "Actually, they do have leads," I said. "Very clear ones." Silence. "The security footage was pretty thorough," I went on. "Caught everything. Who came in, what they took, who they were working for. My attorney's been putting together a case. I could hear him breathing on the other end, trying to calculate what I knew and how much trouble he was in. That's good, Kyle finally managed. Justice, right? Exactly, I said. Justice. Kyle, I've got a lot of calls to return. I should go. Sure, yeah, of course. Congratulations again. After I hung up with Kyle, Vincent called. How does it feel? He asked. Quiet, I said. Weirdly quiet. The lawyers are ready when you are, he replied. We've got enough to nail Kyle, his brother, and everyone tied to the break-in and the espionage. Not yet, I said. Let them sweat a little longer. And Rhonda? I looked out the window at the same street I'd been staring at for years. Same house, same neighborhood, same everything. Except now, I had $85 million and absolute freedom. Rhonda made her choice, I said. Now she lives with it. That night, I took Murphy for our usual walk around the neighborhood. We passed Rhonda's old friend Janet watering her flowers. She waved me over. Dalton, I saw the news. That's incredible, she said, and she actually sounded happy for me. Thanks, Janet. I always knew you were working on something big. Rhonda used to complain about you being in that workshop all the time, but I told her, let the man work. Guess I was right. I smiled. Guess so. She must be kicking herself now, Janet added, unable to resist. I wouldn't know, I said. We don't talk. Well, good for you. You deserve this. Really. I walked home feeling lighter than I had in years. Not because of the money, but because I'd proved something to myself, that patience, focus, and quiet confidence can outlast mockery and betrayal. My phone buzzed. Unknown number? Dalton, it's Rhonda. Can we talk, please? Just 5 minutes. I stared at the screen for a moment, then deleted the message without replying. 2 weeks after the story broke, Vincent and I met with federal prosecutors. We laid everything out. The footage of Kyle and his brother breaking into my workshop, the stolen IP trail, the money transfers linking the operation back to Clayton's shell companies. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Diana Chun, went through the file like a surgeon. This is solid, she said. Corporate espionage, breaking and entering, destruction of property, conspiracy. We can make all of this stick. What's the timeline? Vincent asked. Arraignments within 30 days, Diana replied. Trial maybe 6 months from now, but honestly, with this evidence, I'd be surprised if they don't take plea deals. 3 weeks later, Kyle was arrested at his office. His brother Derek was picked up that same afternoon. The contractor Clayton had hired turned himself in as soon as his lawyer saw the evidence. Local media picked up the story. Corporate espionage case tied to $85 million patent deal. Kyle's attorney reached out within 48 hours asking for a meeting. I let Vincent handle it. He called me afterward. Kyle wants to settle, Vincent said. No trial. He's willing to pay restitution and accept probation. What did you tell him? I asked. I told him we'd consider it if he fully cooperates and gives detailed testimony on everyone involved, including Clayton's role in funding the entire thing. He agreed. He's going to flip. Clayton was arrested a week later, charged as an accessory to corporate espionage and conspiracy. His investment firm suspended him the same day, pending investigation. Rhonda's social media went completely silent after that. No posts, no stories, nothing. She just vanished from the online world. I didn't feel triumphant watching it all unfold, just tired. Tired of the lies, the legal wrangling, the constant revisiting of everything they'd tried to destroy. But I stayed with it. I testified when needed, turned over documents when asked, and made sure every person involved faced consequences. The day Kyle's plea deal was finalized, I was in my workshop packing up equipment. I'd decided to sell the house, move on, start somewhere new. Murphy lay on his bed watching me, head tilted. Time for a change, buddy, I said. My phone buzzed. Another text from Vincent. It's done. Kyle gets 3 years probation, community service, and a permanent record. His brother gets 18 months. Clayton's trial is set for next spring, but his lawyer is already fishing for a deal. I texted back, Good, thanks for everything. He replied, Thank you for trusting me. Where are you going next? I looked around the workshop one last time. It had been my sanctuary, my lab, my escape, but also a constant reminder of everything I'd lost while building something world-changing. Somewhere quiet, I wrote. Somewhere with an ocean view. 18 months later, I was sitting on the deck of a small house overlooking the Pacific Ocean. Not a Malibu mansion, just a weathered little cottage on the Oregon coast with a view that went on forever. Murphy lay at my feet, muzzle graying but clearly happy. The air smelled like salt and cedar. Coffee tasted better there. Life moved slower. Biomedical solutions had completed their first clinical trials. My polymer was saving lives. Real people walking around with organs their bodies didn't reject. The royalty checks arrived every quarter. More money than I could ever reasonably spend. I gave away $30 million. Cancer research, children's hospitals, scholarships for engineering students. I funded 3 new medtech startups run by people who reminded me of myself at 30. Hungry, stubborn, hopeful. The money felt better going out than it ever had coming in. That morning, a young woman from the local university had come by to interview me for a documentary on innovation. She'd asked the question everyone eventually asked. Did it feel good proving everyone wrong? I watched a seagull dive into the surf while I thought about it. I wasn't trying to prove anyone wrong, I said. I was trying to prove myself right. There's a difference. She nodded, scribbled that down, then asked, "Do you have any regrets?" "Just one," I answered. "I wish I'd left sooner. I could have saved myself years of being dismissed by someone who never valued what I was building." "What about your ex-wife? Do you ever hear from her?" "No," I said, and that's how I like it. After she left, I sat alone on the deck with my coffee cooling in my hand. Through mutual acquaintances, I'd heard Rhonda and Clayton had broken up. He'd moved to Texas after his plea deal, trying to salvage what was left of his career. Rhonda had moved back in with her sister, working a basic administrative job, living quietly. I didn't feel satisfaction hearing it. I didn't feel anger either. I just didn't feel anything. That chapter was closed. My phone rang. Vincent again. "How's retirement treating you?" he asked. "Peaceful," I said. "You should try it." "Maybe someday. Listen, there's a researcher in Boston working on synthetic bone tissue. Brilliant stuff. Needs backing. Thought of you." "Send me the details," I said. "I'll take a look." After we hung up, I stood, stretched, and walked down to the beach. Murphy lumbered after me, slower now, but determined. The waves rolled in, steady and relentless, wiping away footprints like they'd never been there at all. I'd spent 19 years married to someone who never really saw my value. 11 years building something she dismissed as a pointless hobby. 6 months watching her realize exactly what she'd thrown away. And now I was here, free, successful, at peace. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building a life so full and satisfying that the people who walked away become irrelevant to how the story ends. I tossed a piece of driftwood into the surf. Murphy watched it float away, his tail giving a single lazy wag. "Good boy," I said. We turned back toward the house, leaving the ocean to erase our footprints behind us.